My brain is like a computer and my body is like a turtle. I know too much information. Nostradamus. Unpublished Prophecies, page 45. London Plague. Charles I was beheaded in London in 1649. The Great Plague in that city followed and lasted from 1655 to 1656. Nostradamus predicted it 100 years before it happened. They will come to put the just man wrongly to death. Publicly in the midst he is extinguished. So great a plague will be born in this place that the judges will be forced to flee. Oddly enough, that is exactly what happened. Those who sat in judgment of Charles I were forced to leave London to avoid the plague. Cause of plague. Nostradamus clearly defined the reason of the plague came to London in this verse. The great plague in the maritime city will not stop until death is avenged by the blood of a just man taken and condemned for no crime. The great lady is outraged by the pretense. It was the thought of Nostradamus that the plague and the great fire of London were caused by the execution of Charles I. He referred to the maritime city in his quatrain, which we can assume is London. The plague broke out 1 year before the great fire. The outraged lady referred to in this verse is undoubtedly St. Paul's Cathedral. Soon after the plague and fire, Protestantism was re-established in England. The Great Fire of London. Here we have another quatrain in which Nostradamus gives us a prophecy and a date. The blood of the just will be demanded of London, burnt by the fire, in 3 times 20 plus 6. The ancient lady will fall from her high position, and many of the same denomination will be killed. The great seer was incredibly accurate. The fire occurred in 1666. Nostradamus gave us the date when he wrote 3 times 20 plus 6. When he talked about the ancient lady falling from her high position, he meant the statue of the Virgin Mary atop St. Paul's Cathedral, which fell during the fire. The cathedral itself was destroyed. He also saw what happened during the fire when he said that many of the same denomination will be killed. History tells us that during the terrible conflagration in London, many of the citizens lived in wooden homes that were tinder dry. Thousands ran to churches for safety because they were made of stone, but they died when the churches collapsed on them. The blood of the just in this case indicates that those innocent victims who died in the fire. Assassination of the Kennedy brothers. The Kennedys were not named in the quatrain, but the times of the day when they both were killed are. The great man will be struck down in the day by a thunderbolt, an evil deed, foretold by the bearer of a petition. According to the prediction, another falls at night time. Conflict in Reims, London, and pestilence in Tuscany. In the early 1960s, Dallas, Texas, was not a safe place for Eastern politicians. President John F. Kennedy was warned not to make the trip. Earlier, Adlai Stevenson had been in Dallas and had been attacked by somebody with an umbrella. Stevenson was a member of the petition who warned the president to stay away. Kennedy went anyway and was shot, thunderbolt, in broad daylight by Harvey Lee Oswald. The date was November 22nd, 1963. A lot of conspiracy theories about Harvey Lee Oswald. It was actually the government. There's people above the president. Whatever. He was killed because he was a good guy trying to fight for our freedom. The quatrain says another man was linked with him and fell at nighttime. Robert F. Kennedy was shot down on June 5, 1968, while celebrating his victory in the presidential primary elections. The assassination took place at night. The last line may be confusing, but what it really means is that after the assassinations were worldwide repercussions. Kennedy's term. The sudden death of the chief man shall cause a change, and put another in the reign soon. Late come to so high a degree in a low age, so that by land and sea he must be feared. This certainly applies to J.F. Kennedy, who came to power too late to change the state of the nation. He succeeded aged General Eisenhower, whose policies did nothing to ease the world tension. And of course, the Cuban Missile Crisis ended with Kennedy being feared on land on the sea. Three brothers. The theme of the three brothers from America can be found in many of Nostradamus' prophecies. Here is one more example. A great king captured by the hands of a young man, not far from Easter, confusion, a state of the knife, everlasting captives, times when the lightning is on top, when three brothers will be wounded and murdered. The verse indicates that a bad time for the remaining brother, Edward Kennedy, is in March or April. He may have thwarted the great seer's prediction by deciding not to run for president. Still, we can't predict the future. Nostradamus did, and with incredible accuracy. This quatrain may still be valid. Robert Kennedy's death. At no time in history were three brothers framed for their only political acumen. When Nostradamus talks of them, he can only mean the Kennedys. Here he concentrates on Robert. The successor will avenge his handsome brother and occupy the realm under the shadow of vengeance. He killed the obstacle of blameworthy dead, his blood. For a long time Britain will hold with France. Nostradamus had spelled out with the double tragedy here quite clearly. The two brothers died within a short time of each other. Robert did avenge his brother's death, so to speak, by working with the investigation committee who looked into all aspects of the Dallas shooting. The last line tells us that Britain and France will be united in the common market. Prophecy of paper money. Paper money wasn't used in Europe until the 17th century, yet Nostradamus saw it coming. The copies of gold and silver inflated, which after the theft were thrown into the lake. At the discovery that all is exhausted and dissipated by the debt, all scrips and bonds will be wiped out. He not only predicted the use of paper money, but inflation. The copies of gold and silver can only mean money in paper form. Chemical warfare. We have an intriguing phrase in this quatrain, and it can only mean chemical warfare. The phrase is false dust. In the Cyclades, in the Perintheus and Larissa, in Sparta and all of the Peloponnesus, a great famine plague through the false dust. It will last 9 months through the whole peninsula. I couldn't pronounce a lot of that. The area afflicted here in modern terms is all of in Greece and southern Balkans. The false dust means artificially induced substances as opposed to natural substances. That means lead poisoning. Berlin Wall to fall. There are two probabilities with the following quatrain. One is history, the other is a possible future event. The royal bird over the city of the sun will give a nightly warning for 7 months. The wall in the east will fall, thunder and lightning. In 7 days, the enemy directly to the gates. The royal bird is a mystery. The city of the sun is, of course, Paris, also known as the City of Light. A nightly warning for 7 months has no historical reference. However, the wall in the east could mean the fall of the Maginot Line, which crumbled during the 7-day blitzkrieg of the Nazi army, June 5th to June 11th, 1940. The quatrain could also refer to the Berlin Wall in the east, and that it will come down with other disasters in its wake. This was written in 1983, before the Berlin Wall crashed, so we already know that came down in, 1986, 1989? Something of that sort. There's the train. I gotta go.